In the world of finance, few voices command as much respect as that of Ray Dalio. And when someone of his caliber speaks out, sounding the alarm on China's economic trajectory, you can be sure the world notices. Stick around until the end to learn about this groundbreaking observation and what it could mean for the world. Ray Dalio, a supporter of and investor in China, declared that the world's second largest economy is overdue for a big debt restructuring. He said, "As for the debt and the economy, there is a need for a big debt restructuring of the sort that Zhu Rongji engineered in the late 1990s, just much bigger." In an interview with Forbes chairman and editor-in-chief Steve Forbes at the Forbes Iconoclast Summit in New York, Dalio discussed his essay from April that claimed the United States and China were on the verge of war and are beyond the capacity to talk. Moreover, he added that China is long overdue to take action. Deleveraging is never a simple process. But in the case of China, it may be easier because most of its debt is in local currency and is held by its population. Additionally, he said, the economy is being frozen by debt-laden balance sheets and onerous debt service payments, particularly at the provincial level, and particularly in some of the poorest provinces. It needs to follow this beautiful deleveraging process now, he said. Following the COVID-19 outbreak, China has been battling to rebuild its economy. According to academics, debt-ridden municipalities now seriously threaten the country's economy. Hence, Dalio is a well-known figure among Chinese capitalists and a self-described cinephile with extensive ties to China. When it was released in 2018, Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalio became a bestseller in China. He founded and serves on the operating board of Bridgewater Associates, a $125 billion hedge fund that invests in China and provides funds for Chinese investors. Bridgewater solidified its position as China's largest international hedge fund by doubling its fund assets last year to more than $2.74 billion. In 2018, the hedge fund founded its first onshore China fund. 2 more funds have been created since then. The 73-year-old man expressed concern over the potential for a financial and armed battle for Taiwan's independence. Dalio said, "The United States' relative standing has slipped, while China's relative standing has improved. Although they will be equivalent forces in a fight, and those conflicts are multidimensional, I'm not predicting that the Chinese will defeat the Americans," he added. "There's so much blaming and unraveling about how we got here. Talking is almost counterproductive." 3 main elements, including China's rise to global dominance, Dalio sees as risks to the US today: enormous and increasing debt, an internal dispute over wealth inequality, and the emergence of populism. Populism is likely if you have a financial crisis at the same time as large wealth gaps, and therefore big disagreements, said Dalio, emphasizing that a populist refuses to concede defeat. That combination of those 2 things is explosive. In August 1971, President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would not fulfill its responsibility to exchange treasury debt owned by foreign countries for gold. So, this was the start of Dalio's presentation. Dalio, who was working as a clerk at the time, had anticipated pandemonium and a stock market crash for the following Monday. But he was taken aback when equities experienced their best day in decades. The same thing happened when President Franklin D. Roosevelt suspended the gold standard in a 1933 radio announcement he learned thanks to his interest in history. He committed to researching historical cycles, believing that work contributed to Bridgewater's flagship fund, achieving gains in the financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 when he was suspicious of the risks associated with high debt levels and 0 interest rates before the collapse. The majority of the time, Dalio claimed, "Things that surprised me only surprised me because they didn't happen in my lifetime, but they happened many times in history. I was able to understand the nature of the 2008 financial crisis by studying the period from 1920 to 1945. Dalio is sounding the alarm about a more severe disruption to the world's power system. He asserts that the US has been the global dominating force since the end of World War II, and that is the country where the headquarters of most significant post-World War II global organizations like the United Nations and International Monetary Fund are located. However, he is concerned about another seismic shift because the United States is owed to numerous foreign bondholders and has unsustainable wealth inequality. We started a new world order in 1945, Dalio claims. The system changes and there is usually some sort of dispute initially, he added. There are new people in power and they make the rules. Even Ray Dalio, who now has over $3 billion invested in Chinese companies, is certain that the nation's economy needs a significant reorganization due to its troubled real estate market, which is affected by failed real estate conglomerates and falling home prices. China's economy may pose problems for countries worldwide. Nevertheless, despite the sector being referred to as the single most important industry in the world economy, economists are confident Beijing won't intervene to support the likes of developers. The renowned financier Dalio is of the opposite opinion. He believes it's time China engineered a debt restructuring. According to the International Monetary Fund, China's debt has nearly doubled over the previous 5 years, reaching around $9.3 trillion, which is more than half of the nation's yearly economic output. Although Dalio admits the change will be significant, it is necessary. The debt restructuring in the country would be simpler than it had been for other countries, according to Dalio. For the beautiful deleveraging to occur, he continued, 2 levers must be pulled. The first is to allow deflationary defaults and restructurings while balancing them with the inflationary tactic of money printing. According to him, this is the only way for China's economy to grow again. Additionally, it will significantly raise the standard of living in the nation's poorest regions. According to Dalio, other countries like Japan, the US, and the continent of Europe would eventually need to deleverage as well. But he suggested that China should do it first. Additionally, he said, China is overdue in doing this, so in my opinion, it needs to follow this beautiful deleveraging process now, because the debt-burdened balance sheets and burdensome debt service payments are freezing the economy, especially at the provincial level and most especially in some of the poorest provinces. A multitude of problems are currently affecting the Chinese economy. Recently, when the yuan fell towards 7.35 per dollar, the government reportedly encouraged state-owned banks to intervene in the currency markets, a situation that officials are reportedly desperate to avoid. Moreover, youth unemployment has risen this year, reaching record highs of 21.3% in June, until the administration decided not to publish the unfavorable figures. So, if you plan to move to China as a citizen, please rethink as the situation is worse. The number of land sales data likewise inexplicably vanished from public access after the number decreased by more than 50% the previous year. The data typically dates back to 1988, but according to Bloomberg, monthly releases no longer include the quantity of land developers bought or the price they paid. If this deep dive gave you a fresh perspective, please take a moment to like this video. The future of China's economy is a global concern, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Drop your comments below. For those who haven't yet subscribed, now's the time. Ensure you're notified of our upcoming analysis by hitting that subscribe button. Until next time, stay informed and engaged.